Imagine waking up and actually doing what you said you'd do, without the daily wrestling match with procrastination, cravings, or distractions. No heroic bursts of willpower, no drama, just quiet, consistent follow-through. That's what real self-control feels like. And it's not a personality trait, it's an architecture problem. In this video, you'll learn the habit architecture method, a practical blueprint for designing your days so that discipline becomes your default. We're going to break self-control into pieces you can actually build. How to shape your identity, engineer your environment, control triggers, surf urges, and create guardrails that keep you on track, even when you're tired, stressed, or unmotivated. If you've tried sheer willpower and failed, stay with me. It's not because you're weak, it's because your system was never built. Today, we build it, step by step, so your habits work for you instead of against you. Let's set the stage. Most people think self-control is about trying harder, but the habit architecture method says, stop trying to overpower your brain, start designing for it. In this video, we'll walk through a complete framework to build self-control like an architect builds a house, from foundations to structure to finishes. You'll learn how to define a disciplined identity, redesign your environment, turn temptations into hassle, make good actions automatic, and stay on track even when life gets messy. If you're serious about becoming the kind of person who does the work, eats well, and sticks to commitments, this is for you. And if you want more deep dive, step-by-step breakdowns like this, consider subscribing and tapping the notification bell so you don't miss future videos. Most importantly, watch until the end. The final steps pull everything together into a system you can start using today. First, why does willpower fail so often? Your brain is wired to conserve energy, avoid discomfort, and chase quick rewards. Every time you rely on raw self-control, you're swimming upstream against millions of years of evolution. That's why you can power through a few days of strict dieting or intense work, then snap back to old patterns. Self-control isn't just a moral issue, it's a design issue. The habit architecture method treats your behavior like a system. Inputs, structures, and outputs. Instead of asking, why am I so weak? You ask, what system is producing this behavior? We'll replace vague goals like, be more disciplined with concrete levers, identity, environment, friction, cues, plans, and guardrails. Think of it like upgrading from pushing a broken car to driving a tuned engine. You're still in control, but now physics is on your side. Step 1. We rebuild who you believe you are. Architecture starts with foundations. For self-control, that foundation is identity. You act consistently with who you believe you are. If you secretly see yourself as lazy, a binge eater, or someone who never finishes, you'll sabotage progress to stay aligned with that self-image. So we begin by choosing a self-control identity. For example, I am a person who keeps promises to myself, or I am an athlete in training, or I am a focused creator. This isn't empty affirmation, it's a design brief for your habits. Every action becomes a vote for or against that identity. When you face temptation, skipping a workout, doom scrolling, overeating, you don't just ask, do I feel like it? You ask, what would someone with my chosen identity do right now? Self-control becomes less about fighting urges, more about acting in character. Later, we'll embed this identity into your environment so it's constantly reinforced. Next, environment. Your surroundings silently dictate much of your behavior. It's extremely hard to eat clean when junk food is visible everywhere, or to focus when your workspace screams distraction. Habit architecture says, design the room, not just your mind. Start with one key arena, your desk, kitchen, or bedroom. Ask, if a highly self-controlled version of me lived here, what would be different? Remove visual triggers for bad habits, snacks off the counter, social apps off the home screen, TV remote out of sight. Then, make good habits obvious and convenient. Water bottle on the desk, workout clothes prepped, a single open notebook instead of 5 cluttered objects. You're not relying on momentary motivation. You're building a physical script that nudges you toward better choices all day long. The goal is simple. Make the right actions feel like the path of least resistance every time you enter that space. Now we flip the script on temptations using friction. Friction is any small obstacle that makes a behavior harder to start. Bad habits thrive on zero friction. One tap, one bite, one click. To build self-control, you don't just resist, you re-engineer. Ask, how can I make my worst habits slightly annoying, slower, or less automatic? For example, delete social media apps from your phone and access them only from a laptop. Store junk food in hard-to-reach places or don't buy it at all. Put your gaming console in a closet between uses. Even tiny obstacles, typing a password, walking to another room, waiting for a device to turn on, create just enough pause for your rational brain to wake up. You're not banning pleasure. You're removing its instant grip. Over time, your cravings will still appear, but acting on them becomes inconvenient instead of effortless, which dramatically increases your odds of making a better choice. With temptations slowed down, we make good actions automatic using cues. A cue is anything that tells your brain, do this now. Most people leave cues to chance. Habit architects script them. Start by picking one high-impact behavior, maybe daily writing, a workout, or studying. Then attach a clear cue, time-based, at 7:00 a.m., location-based, at my desk, or event-based, after I make coffee. Be ultra-specific. At 7:00 a.m., at the kitchen table, I open my laptop and write one paragraph. You can also use visual cues. Lay out your shoes by the door, place a book on your pillow, set a sticky note on your keyboard. Over time, your brain links that cue with that action, shrinking the decision process. Self-control becomes less about debating what to do and more about following a preloaded script triggered by your environment, your calendar, and your routines. Now we upgrade cues with a powerful tool, habit stacking. Instead of trying to bolt new behaviors onto empty air, you attach them to habits you already do every day. The formula is simple. After I, current habit, I will new habit. For example, after I brush my teeth, I'll do 10 push-ups. After I brew coffee, I'll read one page. After I sit at my desk, I'll set a 10-minute focus timer. Your existing habits become anchors, reliable triggers that pull new actions into place. Start tiny so resistance stays low. The point is to build a chain, not to impress anyone. Over time, you can extend these stacks. After reading one page, you might naturally read 5. After 10 push-ups, you might do a full workout. Self-control becomes a series of predictable cascades rather than random acts of discipline you have to conjure out of nowhere each day. Even with cues and stacks, life throws curveballs. That's where implementation intentions, if-then plans, come in. Instead of vaguely hoping you'll do better, you pre-negotiate with yourself. Example, if I feel the urge to check my phone while working, then I will write down the urge and wait 2 minutes. Or, if I get home tired and don't want to cook, then I will make the fastest healthy option I've planned, not order delivery. These specific responses turn self-control from an emotional battle into a script. The magic is that your brain recognizes the situations you've named, stress, boredom, social pressure, and retrieves the plan automatically. Write 3 if-then rules for your biggest self-control leaks: snacking, scrolling, skipping workouts, staying up late. Keep them visible on your desk, fridge, or lock screen. You're building a mental autopilot that takes over right when your discipline is most likely to crumble. Self-control isn't just logical, it's intensely emotional. Cravings, anxiety, boredom, and stress hijack your brain. Instead of fighting these feelings, we use urge surfing, a technique from behavioral therapy. The idea: urges rise, peak, and fall like waves if you don't act on them. When you feel a strong pull, to binge, to scroll, to lash out, pause for 60 to 90 seconds. Notice where you feel it in your body: tight chest, restless hands, buzzing energy. Name it. This is an urge to eat when I'm stressed. Breathe slowly and watch it like a scientist. Most waves fade if you ride them without reacting. Pair this with micro delays. I can have this in 10 minutes if I still want it. Often the urge loses intensity. You're training a core self-control skill, separating what you feel from what you do. Over time, this gives you a calm space between impulse and action. Next, we designed failsafes and guardrails, structural protections for moments when you're not at your best. A failsafe assumes you will get tired, stressed, or tempted, and builds in damage control. For example, pre-commitment. Delete food delivery apps and keep only one restaurant number for a healthy option. Use website blockers with locked settings during work hours. Give a friend a small sum of money you lose if you skip 3 workouts in a row. Guardrails can also be rules. No screens in bed, no eating from the package, no social media until after my first deep work block. These constraints reduce decision fatigue and impulsivity. Instead of having to choose discipline in the heat of the moment, you've already chosen in advance and wired those choices into your environment, apps, and relationships. Think of it as installing rails along the edge of a cliff so you don't have to rely on perfect balance. To make all this stick, you need tracking and tiny metrics. What gets measured becomes real, but we're not chasing perfection. We're reinforcing identity. Choose 1 or 2 key self-control habits, maybe no phone during deep work, no late-night snacking, or daily exercise. Then design an incredibly simple tracking system, a calendar with X's, a habit app, or a note in your journal. Track completion, not performance. You either did it or you didn't. Review weekly. Where did the architecture hold, and where did it crack? Did a certain time, place, or emotion repeatedly knock you off track? Adjust your environment, cues, and guardrails accordingly. Think of yourself as an engineer running experiments, not a judge handing down verdicts. Over time, these small checkmarks become evidence, proof that you are, in fact, becoming the person you designed at the start of this process. Finally, we apply progressive overload to discipline itself. Just like muscles, self-control strengthens when you challenge it slightly beyond its comfort zone, then recover. Start with small, consistent commitments. 5 minutes of focused work, 1 healthy meal swap, 1 evening without scrolling in bed. Once these feel easy, notch them up. 10 minutes, then 20. 2 healthy meals, 3 screen-free nights. Push slightly, not insanely. Periodically, do a deliberate hard rep, a longer deep work block, a social event without drinking, a day with strict digital limits. Reflect afterward. What helped? What broke? Then update your architecture, environment cues, and fail-safes to support this new level. You're treating discipline like a trainable capacity, not a fixed trait. Over months, what once felt impossible, early mornings, consistent workouts, focused study, controlled eating, becomes your normal baseline. Let's zoom out and consolidate. The habit architecture method turns self-control from a vague hope into a designed system. You started by choosing a disciplined identity, the kind of person you're becoming. Then you reshaped your environment so your surroundings quietly push you toward that identity. You added friction to temptations and installed clear cues and habit stacks to make good actions automatic. You wrote if-then plans for predictable weak moments and learned to surf urges instead of obeying them. You built fail-safes and guardrails so you don't depend on willpower when you're exhausted. You started tracking tiny metrics, reviewing and tweaking like an engineer. And you began applying progressive overload so your capacity for discipline grows over time. None of this requires perfection, only consistent iteration. The question now isn't, do I have self-control? It's, am I willing to keep upgrading the architecture that produces it? Now it's your turn to build. Don't try to implement everything at once. Tonight, choose 3 moves. 1 identity statement, 1 environment change, and 1 if-then plan for your biggest leak. Write them down and act on them within the next 24 hours. Discipline is built in days like that. Small, decisive upgrades that compound. If this habit architecture method resonated with you, and you want more practical frameworks for self-mastery, consider subscribing and hitting the notification bell so you catch future deep dives. It genuinely helps this channel reach more people who are struggling with the same battles you are. Comment below with the one habit you're going to architect first: work, health, focus, or something else, and what specific change you'll make today. And if you want a part 2 with live examples and templates, let me know. Until then, keep designing your day so self-control stops being a fight and starts being your default.